Mic check one. Biologist, can you hear me?
Sound check. 1, 2, 3.
Yep, hear you loud and clear. Mic check two. Biologist, can you hear me?
Sound check. 1, 2, 3.
Yep, hear you loud and clear. Alrighty, folks, so it is just about 3 o'clock, so that means we are going to be starting our penguin feed shortly. Season's greetings, happy holidays. My name is Patrick. I'm a public programs presenter here at the California Academy of Sciences. And I wanted to start off by thanking everyone for visiting today, because just by visiting, you're helping us to further our mission of regenerating the natural world through science, learning, and collaboration. So you're helping us some of the amazing animals and ecosystems, like our African penguins and the Philippine coral reef, just by visiting today. So if you didn't hear my announcement earlier, we're going to make sure, and everyone's doing a good job of it right now, we want to stand behind the yellow line. We just want to make sure everyone gets a great view of the feed. You're more than welcome to have a seat up front if you would like. And you are welcome to take photos too. I just ask that you turn off the flash. We don't want to distract our biologists, but we also don't want to distract our penguins. And later on during the feed, we will actually get an opportunity to ask our biologists questions. So if there's anything you've ever wondered about penguins or taking care of penguins, this is your opportunity. But without further ado, let's give a warm welcome wave to our biologists.
Hi, everyone. I'm Holly. I'll be feeding the birds this afternoon. This is Tim, and he's going to be recording everything that the birds are eating. So I'm going to get in the water and start feeding them there. But I'm going to need to talk to him for just a few minutes so we make sure we get the correct information. So I'm going to flip up my mic for just a little bit, but then I'd love to take your questions.
Alrighty, sounds good. To start things off, let's talk a bit about penguins. Now, show of hands here. Has anyone ever seen penguins before on a TV show or a movie? Probably some of you, right? Perhaps Happy Feet or March of the Penguins. Now, if you think about the penguins in those media, if you think about the habitat you usually see those penguins in, and compare it to the one that you see here, what are some of the differences you might be able to remember between those habitats and this habitat here? Perhaps it might look a little colder in something like March of the Penguins or Happy Feet. So a lot of people often think of penguins living in Antarctica, and that is true. There are 2 species that are generally found there year-round, the Adelie penguins and, of course, the famous emperor penguins. But believe it or not all penguins are found in Antarctica. They are spread throughout the southern hemisphere. So the penguins here at the California Academy of Sciences are African penguins, and they are found on the coast of South Africa. In South America, you have 2 species of penguins, the Magellanic and the Humboldt penguins. For those of you that have visited the San Francisco Zoo, they have Magellanic penguins there. There are several species found around Australia, New Zealand, and the furthest north you can find penguins, believe it or not, is around the Galapagos Islands. Those are the Galapagos penguins. But unfortunately, you're not going to find any penguins swimming out here in North America. The closest thing we get out here are a group of birds called alcids, which includes puffins, murres, and auklets, some of my favorite birds. And in my opinion, maybe a little bit cuter than penguins, but to each his or her own. Now, even though African penguins aren't living in Antarctica, they are just like other penguins. They have that classic tuxedo look to them. They are great at swimming, as the ones you can see in the water are demonstrating. They also love to eat seafood. Does anyone here like to eat seafood? Yeah, you probably like to eat like one of our Academy penguins here. Now here, African penguins can eat about 14% of their body weight every single day. So here at Cal Academy, that means these penguins get about 4 to 20 fish a day. And that would be the equivalent if the average person ate about 450 xiaolongbaos, those lovely soup dumplings, or about 10 medium pizzas every single day. So that's a lot of food for these penguins to consume. Now you notice we have biologist Holly in the water, and then we have another one in the back kind of taking notes. We want to make sure our penguins are getting the right amount of food every day, and depending on the time of the year, the penguins might eat more, they might eat less. Now, speaking of eating, I'm actually a bit curious what's on the menu today. So, biologist Holly, do you mind telling us about what the penguins are getting to eat?
Yeah, they're getting 2 different types of fish, a small one called a capelin, and then a large one called a herring. And these 2 types of fish give them a really well-balanced diet.
Does anyone here like to eat herring or capelin themselves? I have a couple of friends that do. If you don't, that's all right. But would herring and capelin be on the menu for these penguins in their natural habitat, biologist Holly?
It's actually not. So they're eating mostly sardines and anchovies, but sadly those are being overfished, and there just isn't enough food for these birds to feed themselves and their chicks. So that's mostly why they are endangered right now and at risk of going extinct in South Africa.
Yeah, so that's one way we're helping out these African penguins. We want to make sure that we're not competing with the penguins in their natural habitat for the same food source, because people do like to eat anchovies and sardines. So we want to limit our impact on these African penguins because, as biologist Holly said, they are an endangered species. But there are other ways Cal Academy is working, things that Cal Academy is working on to help protect these penguins. Would you mind sharing with us, biologist Holly, what some of your work might include?
Yeah, so we have a penguin fund here that we use to support various conservation efforts in South Africa. One group we love to support is called SANCOB. It's a seabird rescue, so they get a lot of African penguins, especially chicks during the chick season when they unfortunately are being abandoned like we talked about. So every few years we'll send biologists there to help out during that busy chick season. Along with a lot of other keepers from zoos and aquariums across the country. Last year, of course, we couldn't go because of COVID, so we sent an incubator instead that they can use to incubate and hopefully hatch out chicks from eggs that have been abandoned.
So it's going to go off topic for a quick second, only because they don't always come out. Some of you might have gotten a chance to see one of our pajama sharks. It's typically a nocturnal species. During the feeding is your best chance to see them because they like to pick up on the leftovers of the penguins. But back to the important point. Yeah, so working with organizations like SANCOB is part of our mission of regenerating the natural world through science and learning and collaboration, as I mentioned at the beginning. Because not only working on protecting these penguins here at Cal Academy, but working with the local communities to help protect and preserve these amazing animals. But it's not just us that can help protect penguins. There's lots of things you folks here can do to help these African penguins. So, biologist Holly, could you tell us what are some ways these amazing folks can help out African penguins?
Yeah, if you want to help us with that penguin fund, it actually really doesn't take very much. If you make it to the gift shop today and make a purchase, just go ahead and round up that donation. That little bit of change is going to make a big difference to that penguin fund.
So in addition to the penguin fund, you can also eat like an Academy penguin. So I have these seafood watch cards here. You're welcome to pick up now or after the presentation. But Seafood Watch was a program that was started by the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and the back of the card reads essentially like a stop sign. The green column are the best choices. These are the options of seafood that are harvested from the wild or farmed in a way where we try to limit our impact on the environment. But in case you can't find the best choice, you generally want to go for the good alternatives. These are the stuff that it's not bad, but it's generally in the okay column. But you want to avoid generally the stuff that's in the red. These are options of seafood that are overfished, like the anchovies and sardines around South Africa, or they're farmed in a way where it has a pretty bad impact on the environment. So you're welcome to take one of these Seafood Watch cards. You can always check out the Seafood Watch website itself. And we also do have a QR code here you can scan to create an app on your phone. But as I mentioned at the beginning, this will be your opportunity to ask our biologists questions. So if there's anything you've ever wondered about penguins, taking care of penguins, now is your chance to do so. So does anyone have any questions here? Can penguins get COVID?
Can they get COVID? So as far as I know, and by no means am I a COVID expert, my understanding so far is that it's only been mammals. Does that sound? Yeah. So I haven't heard of any birds getting COVID. We already know that there could be a possible link between It's starting out with an animal, right, and then transferring to us. So what we call is zoonotic disease, right? The word zoo just means animal, basically. So we are very close, we are mammals, right? So we're very closely related to all of those things. We are much more further related to birds. So it's easier for diseases to jump to closer species than it is that far. Now, not totally, right? Things like West Nile virus, there are some, but in general, it's a little easier for them to make that jump. So as far as I know so far, this has not been an issue for birds. That being said, there are still a lot of diseases that birds can get. In South Africa, actually, one of the other problems that penguins face is avian malaria, and they have a few other viruses that go around there. So if you're already stressed because you're not getting enough food, you have to deal with things like climate change, maybe pollution, cats and dogs, cars, things like that. If you're already stressed, then maybe some kind of background disease that's just kind of always there but you can deal with, then it has an opportunity to just explode because everybody's a little weaker. So that's why something like getting enough food is so critical. It makes the population strong enough to be able to deal with those other natural occurrences.
And that's why organizations like SANCOB do amazing work, because they're the people out there seeing these African penguins and taking care of them when, you know, they get malnourished in their natural habitat. Yeah. Anyone else have questions about penguins?